every time. We'll get to the Poundcake sports break later on today, too. We'll talk to Andy Leach over at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They dropped this year's class of nominees. I didn't count them up. It looks like about 15 or so. 7 of them first time. Dolly Parton, Eminem, Beck, among the first timers. I could see Beck getting in.
Beck's great.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Beck.
I always think of Beck and Weezer as 2 acts I would have never thought would still be around and relevant 30 years later. Because Loser was such a novelty-ish song that you were like, boy, if the guy, he can't keep cranking these out.
Yeah, but then Odelay was so popular.
Awesome, and everything he's done since. Like, even if you didn't love it, he was always doing something different. He's a very creative guy.
Even if you, excuse me, people listen to that album and they're like, oh, Beck's really good. So he got like a very solid fan base off of the Loser song.
Yeah.
A lot of people knew the Loser song, but the rest of the album was very good. So people dug him, and then he just did more and more. He's great.
Alternative radio was playing Loser every friggin' 7 minutes.
I remember...
The song was always on the radio in the early 90s.
Probably, what year did that come out? Probably
94, I think.
Yeah, so I was 12 years old, and one of the older kids at church that didn't really go to church all that often, you'd see him every once in a while. He's kind of like on his way out. He was at some activity, and he was talking about Beck, and I'm like, I love Beck. And he's like, oh, man. Because I was 4 years younger than him, and I liked Beck. And he's like, oh, now kids like it. I don't know if I like this still.
Also, I think Beck is a Scientologist. I think because his sister was married to Giovanni Ribisi for a while, if you know who that actor is. I think they were all Scientologists. I don't know if he still is, but I know he once was. So, listen. If that had anything to do with his creative urges, then L. Ron Hubbard wasn't a complete fraud. By the way, a couple of points of note from the break and some texts I received. People are referring to Mary as Mary Santora, wet detective. Because she's going to go door to door knocking on people's doors to make sure that they're not using... I assume that's... what I get for assuming. And also, and this is really going to stick you right in the heart, the Codpast exists. It is a podcast about dyslexia. Now, I don't know if it's still a thing, because I was looking it up. The Codpast, the most recent episode was episode 35, which was April of 2018. So I don't know if it's still an active, for the billion podcasts that are out there, the vast majority of them never get past 10 or 11 episodes. Because people think it's super easy to just get and, chat about stuff that people care about. And it is not. So, the Codpast...
That's so sad.
At the very least, did exist. Now, it is not fish-centric. So, maybe there's some wiggle room for you there.
Maybe.
Now, could it be a fluke that this happened?
Maybe.
I don't know, but it might be worth looking into.
It's so sad.
Hey, Special K.
Hey, Alan, ate the show.
Thank you, sir. What's up?
Hey, you don't have to do this, but I figured since you are having them on, I have something like a music memorabilia from a band that's already been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And have you ever asked this guy? If I was thinking, does the Hall of Fame ever bring in like private citizens memorabilia to showcase?
You mean like if you have like a huge Depeche Mode collection or something?
Let's say I've got a guitar that's signed by a complete band that, besides it being where it's at, I'd like to share with all the other fans, and
I think that they do. I think there is an avenue for that. Yeah, I think that you could probably contact... Have you ever contacted them and asked directly?
No, this actually just came into my lap pretty recently, and then since you said it, I just said, oh, you know what, maybe Alan can ask this guy, and I can listen. But,
I'm happy to ask him. I mean, he's the archives guy, so yeah, I think obviously it would depend on if they were doing an exhibit about that band.
Yeah, if they were showcasing that band. They've already showcased this band before, but I don't know. I was just thinking about
Who's the band?
Dead and Company.
Okay.
So I got a completely signed guitar from him, but it's also been painted by an artist, and it's 1 out of 5.
Yeah, that might be a little new. I mean, Dead and Company, that's like the new iteration of them, right?
That's
It's
John
John Mayer,
Mayer,
and it's Bruce Hornsby, and it's,
No, Bruce Hornsby.
right? Doesn't he still go out with them?
No, it's Jeff Clementi.
It used to be Bruce Hornsby, yeah?
Yeah, he sat in with him a couple times, but no, it's always been Jeff Clementi.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. But I'll be
Yeah.
happy to ask Andy Leach about that.
Yeah, throw it at him. I appreciate it. I figured it's just coincidental that you're having him on and that I just came across this, and what the hell.
Sure. Okay, thanks,
it.
Special K. I appreciate it. Hey, Dan,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Hey, you guys were talking about fish a while ago, and I just thought of a funny story. Me and my kids caught some fish in a creek, and we brought them home and put them in a fish tank. Well, they all died except for this one bluegill, but he ended up dying too. He committed suicide. He jumped out of his tank, and we put him back in. He kept jumping out of his tank till when it was at night, and by the time we got to him, he was dead.
This is the funny story?
Oh, okay. I guess it wasn't.
Dan goes, I have a really funny story about all of my kids'
I didn't
fish
say
dying.
Really funny. I just
You said
it was
funny. You said, I've got a funny story.
Well, don't
I'm
you
not
think
concerned
it's
about the
funny
matter
that
of
he committed
degree.
suicide?
I just thought that was an interesting way to put it. Well, bluegill's a freshwater fish, so maybe how did it jump out?
Just in an aquarium. There was like no, there was just a light across it.
Yeah, I see.
It wasn't like completely covered.
Boy, so did you eat it? Bluegill's good eating.
No, it was only about 3 inches long.
Well, all right. You get a toothpick and you hold it over the stove, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very mild fish. It's good. Yeah, okay, good. Thank you,
You
Dan.
are naked and afraid, maybe.
Yeah, right. By the way, did you replace your children's fish?
Yeah, not with river caught ones. So.
And did those suffer a similar fate? Did any of them take their own lives?
No suicide there.
That's good. Fish
fly
suicide
away.
might be unprecedented, but
Yeah.
right. Okay, thank you, Dan.
All right.
All right, there's Dan, whose children's fish committed suicide. That was his funny story.
Hilarious.
Guys, I got a great story. So I didn't realize the family dog is behind my car, and I was in a hurry, and I backed up. Oh, I ran right over him. And here comes Kevin Love running up the driveway to save the dog. Who knew?
All I gotta do is kill.
That's right.
Oh, buddy.
All I gotta do is kill a dog, and then Kevin Loves gets to come in my driveway.
So to speak.
You better shovel it
I was
first.
going to say, you're going to want to shovel that.
I don't know if he'll be driving around your neighborhood.
Fair enough.
Hanging out.
If he's a good Samaritan and he needs to give some money, then he give money to my neighborhood. Make sure the
Yeah.
plows get it.
There you go.
I'm pissed.
Alan, whatever podcast Mary does, she can put it on Walleye Heart Radio. Right. Got it. Thank you. The Washington football team has announced their name. The Washington football team will hereafter be referred to as the Washington Commanders. I like Washington football team, quite frankly. I was kind of hoping that they would keep that.
I kind of like that too.
Because they're going to keep the W, right?
Yeah.
On the helmet. They're not changing the logo.
Commanders.
The Commanders, the former Washington Redskins. It's almost 100-year-old franchise. And they went the way, of course, of the Cleveland Indians. People were like, you can't call them the Redskins anymore. So they had to come up with something. And it's been a year and a half, I think, that they've been just calling themselves Washington Football Team. And they announced that it's now the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, they did 2 full seasons as the Washington football team.
Yeah.
What are they commanding? Our
They're commanding the
attention?
offense. They're commanding the defense. And FedEx Field will be awash. And now, everybody
the
on
lower half of the NFC East.
everyone online was making the same joke, and it wouldn't have occurred to me. Everybody was making the joke that everybody will be calling them the commies, which that would have never
No,
occurred to me.
Command, not command.
Well, I was just surprised that everybody was making that joke. I could see a couple of people making that joke. It's not a great one, but a lot of people are making that. But listen, the commies, finally something that can bring the far left and the far right together. And haven't we been looking for that the whole time? And right there
I thought Wordle did that.
in D.C., maybe Wordle,
Did you start playing
except
yet?
they went all corporate, bro. No, I didn't start playing.
Unbelievable.
No, I still haven't even looked it up. New York Times bought it. So I don't know if Will Shortz is going to be getting his grubby little mitts in there or not. But no, I haven't checked out Wordle yet. Again, I'm not opposed to it in any way. It just doesn't.
Seems like you're going out of your way to avoid it.
I'm really not.
But you are.
It's just that everybody else is so overt in their Wordle love that it seems by comparison that I'm being contrarian, but I'm really not. Because contrarian, as I understand it, more than 5 letters.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I've got to give you some money here. It's $1,000. It's a chance for you. Ooh, it's a 5-letter keyword. It's a chance for you to grab $1,000 right here, right now. Good luck.
The Buzzard wants you to go fund yourself and score $1,000. Enter the nationwide keyword money at WMMS.com. That's money. Enter it now at WMMS.com. And good luck from Buzzard Radio.
Anytime you'd like to leave us a message, just something quick, you can. The Alan Cox Show After Hours line is available to you anytime. 216-986-8903.
Hey, Alan, it's Melanie from Parma Heights. I was just watching the live stream from Friday, and I had to have a little chuckle when you all were talking about the, various churches you all went to growing up, and I was raised Roman Catholic. I now consider myself to be a pagan, very spiritual, as far as, meditation and using tarot and all that good stuff. But when Mary said that she grew up Pentecostal and they would speak in tongues in their masses, it reminded me of a time that I went to a Pentecostal mass with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and I had started speaking in tongues. I had never felt so out of control of my body in my life, and it scared the bejesus out of me. So,
That's not the point.
yeah, I just thought you might get a chuckle out of that as well. Hope everybody's safe and healthy and having a happy 2022. Take care, guys. Love the show. Bye.
Thank you, Jesus.
I thought it was
Amen.
supposed to scare the bejesus into you. The
Yeah, I think
Jeebus
she
out of
was-
you
I
and the
think she
bejesus
was-
into you.
She was being a little,
She's
parenthetical.
She's describing her own experience, that she was freaked out.
Yeah,
Did
because
you-
you're
Yeah.
not in charge.
Did you say Roman Catholic?
Yes.
Roman Catholic. I'll tell you what,
That sounds
it is
all right.
so
Not bad,
good.
not bad.
If you get a double, goes good with the wafer.
Hell yeah.
So she had a similar experience. Again, she, as far as the paganism and the tarot, and she's really lumping a whole lot of things.
She is.
Yeah, you'll find that with people too who leave one of the major religions. Right? Is that they'll just
they're
go?
just grasping.
Oh, they'll glop. Yeah, they do some shopping. But listen, who cares, right? Believe whatever you want to believe.
Whatever makes you feel better.
I say
Right.
stop it. Whatever you
Say stop all of it?
Stop believing in things. It's just a waste of
No,
your
I
time.
think believing in things is great. And believe whatever you
I'm
want.
saying the opposite.
As long as you're not making life difficult for other people.
I was
That's usually
driving.
what happens.
I was driving into work today, and I was like, the song. It's a popular country song right now. I love you just the way God made you. And I was driving into work, and I was like, I wonder what I would be like if I didn't grow up religious. And it just hit me. And I know that we've talked about this before, but there are people who were never introduced to any sort of religion at all.
My dad.
And that is like such a. It's hard for me to wrap my head around. Where I'm like,
agree.
what do you believe? What did you do, or do you just not?
What do you know
just-
about life or not or lack thereof?
Like, what do you think about? You just go through day to day, and there's no guilt. There's no I should be a good person. There's no heaven. There's no hell. There's none of that.
Well, no. A lot of those things aren't necessarily attached to religion. There are atheists who are like, I want to be a good person.
I get what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but not. It wasn't forced upon you as if you are not a good person.
Under
you're
pain
gonna-
of hell.
right? You're gonna burn forever.
Brimstone.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's also one of those things where it's like you're taught to be a good person, and then also at the same time you're like, but what they're believing over there, they're trying to be good people, but we're better than them. I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot of arrogance in religion
Yeah.
where everybody teaches their kids that like, oh, well, yes, religion's all good, but our religion's the one you want to be in. You don't want to be in that one over
And it's
there.
for reward too. That's what taught me like reward. So I'm like, wow, if I get punished in life, like if something bad happens to me, I brought it on myself because I probably didn't do something I was supposed to. Like spiritually, not morally, but
like the guilt part of it.
God is angry with me, so this is what happened.
Well, that's like what's interesting about Grandma is her parents were never religious, so she had none of that.
Yeah,
and she likes it that way. So when she has young, kids, I mean they're older now, but like she's got religious kids, and the way she will huff and roll her eyes when this one daughter of hers starts talking about religious makes me cry laughing.
Yeah.
Because she's just so not into it.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in some situations with it, and she'll go on these religious tirades, and Grandma's just like,
yeah.
My dad's from the Deep South, and he was raised without religion, even though basically everybody around him was Southern Baptist.
Wow, he's
I don't know. I think that he was raised without religion, and his parents thought, well, you'll get older and figure out what you believe for yourself.
That's very liberal.
Now, for a lot of people, that doesn't happen.
Or they just don't look into it.
They don't look into it. Some people do, and they do find something. They're searching for something. I think that the human brain is probably kind of hardwired toward that. But my mom grew up Roman Catholic, and so when she and my dad...
Roman Catholic.
But that, back in the day, that was considered a mixed marriage.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a black and white thing.
No.
Like if you were Catholic and they
I'm
were
a
something
Methodist,
else or whatever, my dad was nothing. And so he told my mom, as a condition of getting married, that because it was a big deal for her, that he would convert.
Yeah.
Well, he did that 30 years later, but I don't know how much my dad really got, I mean, he's a man of science and he's a mathematician and all that. So it was like, he eventually converted. My dad got baptized when he was like in his mid-50s, but I don't know. But again, we went to Mass every Sunday. Wow. My dad didn't complain about it. He loved my mom. He's like, this is what it is.
Listen to the stories.
We don't raise, my ex-wife and I, both of our families, we were all raised Catholic, but same with Gwen and I, we're not raising our children with religion.
Right.
We don't go to Mass. We don't, my daughter, little one, she'll ask about like God and things like that. I'm like, well, some people believe and some people don't. And that's, you figure it out. I'm not, I don't,
I used to have a bit.
I don't chastise her for it because she's 6
she's
almost.
Asking questions. Yeah.
Right. But we didn't raise, and both of our older kids went to Catholic schools like we did. But any kid who gets old enough, they're going to go, yeah, that's all made. I don't believe that. And we're like, that's fine.
My daughter once was asking me if I believed in God, and I told her I don't. And she's like, you don't believe in God? And it like really like hit her hard because, again, we hadn't really taught them anything like that. And then she sat there for a little bit, and then she looks over at me, she goes, so you don't believe in God or Bigfoot?
I never said I didn't believe in Bigfoot.
No, because we have had lots of discussions about Bigfoot too. So
she's like, so what do you believe in?
Exactly.
But I have like gotten really lucky in the aspect that my mom was like, she's religious, but she's not religious to the point where I would be.
But she doesn't follow it.
Yeah, would be shunned. well, no, like shunned because one, I don't go to church every weekend or every Sunday, and like I'm gay. But my grandmother, I think my grandmother was the one that instilled like that Baptist religion on her, and I loved my grandmother. I mean, I only had her for a few years that I remember before she died, and I always think, but I'm like, if she was alive, what would she think of me? Like that still haunts me because I know she was really religious, and she was the one that told me all the ghost stories from like her childhood about how sins manifest in real life. So I wonder how she would take the whole gay thing. Would she love me? Like, I don't know. I struggle with that.
See, the thoughts I was having on the way to work, like my boyfriend and his ex-wife, to my knowledge, they're not raising their daughter in any kind of religious way or anything. And I was thinking about that because the reason why that song, she sings it. She's 6 and she sings that song. It's just a song on the radio. And I'm like, I wonder if she questions, I love you just the way God made you, And then I was like, as a 32-year-old woman, I wish I could like have my hard drive wiped and like experience religion for the first time now. As an adult who's lived a life, granted, it would be a different life.
Well, also, religion and God are two very different things.
Right.
Kids hear about God,
yeah,
small g, or capital G or whatever, and so they, whatever. But that's way different than going. Now, you don't want to go to hell, which is how we were raised. So,
I think that's just such a.
How do you know I don't want to go to hell?
You don't
Sounds
know
cool.
anything about me.
Billy Joel said he'd rather laugh with the sinners and die with the saints. Sounds good enough for me.
it just seems like such a better way to go about it sometimes, where it's like, let them make their own decision. If I were in a better place and didn't have it shoved down my throat all the time, I think I'd be more accepting of going to church. And
It's mind control, man.
Yeah.
It is mind control.
I was like driving to work today, like, was I brainwashed?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you're brainwashed. And so was I. And because to me, it was always such a thing where if you were not in the church, it wasn't like you were looked down upon in such a harsh way.
Yeah.
So if you'd hear, like I was talking about that kid that that was a few years older than me, and like he was straying away from church, and it was always talked about, like if a teenager was like leaving the church or like kind of going out and doing their own thing and not really active in the church, and like the way that they would talk about the parents, like, oh, the parents, they did everything they could, but it just happens that time, temptation, blah, blah, blah. And the way they would talk about these people made you feel like, oh man, I don't want everybody that I know that's important in my life to be disappointed in my life. And so like when I got back from the Philippines, I was like I was still going to church because I lived with my parents, and I'm excommunicated, and I can't really tell that, like I wasn't supposed to tell anybody what happened.
Right.
It was just this really awkward time. And then once I stopped going, I felt so much better. So much better.
What's the difference between a religion and a cult?
About $8.
That's what I mean. Sorry, go ahead. I know you gotta go.
No, I gotta take a break. Okay, listen, if you want to get a text for anything, 35192. To do that, you can listen anywhere you are throughout North America on the iHeartRadio app.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7